should I tell people? So when you first get your diagnosis, there's going to be this like, okay, like, do we tell our family? Do we tell our friends? Do I, share on social media? Or do I share it in conversations? Or do I share it when I meet people? Or, do I share it with jobs? Or, what do I say? Is this a black mark on me forever? I don't know how to deal with this, right? So I think this is a big question that happens in the very beginning. It's like, okay, I'm finding out that this is something I might even struggle with long term, potentially. What do I tell people? Do I lie? Do I tell them nothing? Do I tell them everything? Is telling them everything too much? And people don't really tell you what to do with this stuff. And it's a good question. It's a tricky question. I don't think there is necessarily an easy, perfect answer, especially not an answer that fits for everyone. But I can tell you what I did right and what I did wrong and what I would recommend that you do. So, immediate family, tell them, right? Spouse, tell them. They're part of your most important support system. Sometimes they will understand better than other times. I think most times they will understand and be supportive. But you need them to know. You need them to know. So definitely immediate family. Extended family. Extended family, use your judgment. Extended family meaning aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. Some you may choose to tell that are going to be part of your support system. Some you may not choose to tell. Maybe it's one side of the family, not the other. Use your judgment. Maybe if they've been through these things themselves, they'll be more understanding. Maybe you might want to keep it private for whatever reasons, at least in the beginning, or maybe you don't. So extended family just sort of depends. Use your intuition of if you think they can be part of your support system and team that's helping you, you definitely want to tell them. If you have an intuition that they're not going to be very understanding, maybe don't. But that one, sort of use your judgment. Spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, your partner, tell them they're part of your support system. Most likely they're gonna understand. If they're not gonna understand, probably not a good fit, right? Friends, I would say tell the close ones. Your closest friends are gonna understand. They know you really well. The further you go out, the less people are gonna understand, right? Because if they don't already have that relationship established with you, they don't already know who you really are, then they're gonna kind of take that and it's gonna be too big a part of who you are, and they're not really gonna be able to understand what to do with that, and they might be a little freaked out by that. Especially new friends, like you're just getting to know someone, maybe as a friend, or by the way, romance. New friends, new romantic options, right? I would say at least in the beginning and at least when you're first kind of figuring out all this stuff, don't tell people in the very beginning when you're first meeting them all of your stuff, because they're not really gonna understand. It's gonna be a deterrent from them. They're gonna kind of push you away, especially if you're in the hardest times. And that's gonna be tough because when you're in the hardest times, this is such a giant part of who you are. It almost feels like 99.5% of your life and your identity is your health struggles, because you're like constantly struggling. So it's gonna be very tempting to just start telling new friends and new romance people like, oh, these are all the things that I deal with. But I would recommend you don't do that until you're in a better spot and or you get to know them a little better, and then they have an idea of, okay, this is who you are, and then when you share it, they're not as freaked out. They're like, oh, okay, that's just part of who you are, right? So family, friends, romantic partners, jobs. You guys may or may not be aware that sometimes jobs ask you, do you struggle with depression, anxiety, bipolar? So use your discretion here, right? I'm like honest to a fault. I'm almost like incapable of lying. It's very difficult for me. I come from, I think, a very honest family. It's not something we try to not lie. The doctors that I've had were ethical, good people, I think. And the advice to me was that it's none of your employer's business, and to say that and to check the no box. And that was tough for me at first because I was like, well, but that's not true. But it makes sense to me that it's not their business, and I think I agree with that. And there's all types of people with all types of struggles that are not their business. And maybe they have stuff that they could have put on that application that they didn't put because they felt the job wasn't their business. So I would recommend that you don't put it because you don't want it held against you, and it probably will be held against you. Use your discretion, but just know I'm an extremely, extremely honest person, and I felt okay about doing that. So for what it's worth, wanted to share that. So what should I tell people? So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what to do in these different situations. Overall, you can almost think of it, like there's those concentric circles. So if that's you in the middle, the closer the people are to you that are really gonna be part of your support team and really love you and know you, probably the more understanding they're gonna be as a general rule because they've already got context. The further out you are, the more you're like, hi, nice to meet you. My name is John Smith, and like I experienced this, and this, and this. They're sort of gonna be like, okay, like a little too much for me, right? Because they don't know the real John Smith or whatever your name is. So this is what I would recommend. And again, I'm laying all this groundwork before going into the super specific details because these are really important things to know, right? Like if you don't know what to do with this, maybe you're telling your jobs, oh yeah, I have this, and then you're not getting any jobs. And you're telling all these new friends and romantic people, oh yeah, I have this, and then they're freaking out and distancing you. And then maybe you're telling all your extended family that might not understand right away. And these are good things to know. These are good things to know. They're important parts of your roadmap to making it through this, as efficiently and effectively as possible. So what should I tell people? That gives you some guidelines. Go with your intuition, but these are some really good rules of thumb. I'm gonna erase all this, take a screenshot if you need it, and now we're gonna move in to much more specifics now that you've got the groundwork of, okay, how to think about this, how to start approaching it.